Today, we would like to jump in with teaching training around the sales call.
Get your questions answered by Deb and Jen.
Deb and Jen are at it again.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Deb and Jen Show. So excited to have you join us, whether you're live or watching on the replay. I'm Coach Deb.
And I'm Coach Jen.
And together we're here to answer your questions. Anything you have related to sales, marketing, messaging, or speaking. Those are our areas of genius where we focused our coaching and consulting for the last, I think it's 30 years between us. Anyway, so today we would like to jump in with teaching training around the sales call. What's the anatomy of a sales call? And people are like, oh, I hate sales. Yeah.
I hate sales.
Okay, so Jen, do you want to jump in with the anatomy, the order of a sales call? I thought maybe to start it, we could talk about what does it mean to get in the mindset? Like how do you prepare mentally, emotionally for a sales call, discovery call, enrollment call? There's a lot of terms that are used interchangeably, right? So there are a couple of things that I wanted to say right off the bat because I think they're so critical. I could also say them at the end. But yeah, I think what's really important that many times we forget is before we have a meeting with someone, potential client, a customer, or a networking event, we really want to get into state. We want to remind ourselves why we're there. What's our big why? In other words, why are we doing this? Why is success important to us? And we also want to see ourselves not as a salesperson, but being in service to the other's transformation. Caring more about them than how we're being perceived. Get your attention off yourself and put it on the other. And they will feel that concern. They will feel your passion, your genuineness, your humanity. And that will set the stage for a much easier conversation. So get rid of all the ideas that you're selling or manipulating or coercing. It's not about that.
I'm finished as a salesman.
If you're a coach or a consultant or you have a store where people walk in off the street, it's all about creating an amazing experience for them so they want to take the next step. Okay, so that's a bit about getting into state. I'll add some more stuff at the end about why you have to have unshakable confidence and all that kind of stuff. But Jen, why don't you take the lead here and walk through, because you're such an expert at sales. What do? We get someone on the phone.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's set the stage. We've met them somewhere. They were interested in what we talked about and now want to know more.
Oh, tell me more.
Leading up to the offer that we have for them. So do you want to take us through those steps?
Absolutely. Let's go. Maybe I can bring back the headache example. I don't want you to have a headache. Anyone to have a headache after this.
I have a headache.
We can use the headache example, though, that we use in another episode. So let's say we met somewhere. I find out that you have headaches, and I say something to you like, oh, well, if I could show you a way to get rid of those headaches, would it be worth a conversation? You say yes. We book a phone call time, and now you're on a sales call or a discovery call or an enrollment conversation. It's just a conversation to understand their problem more fully and see if you think you can help them.
We're just talking.
That's it. It's really not more complicated than that. And if you think you can help them, then what would you do? You would tell them that you could help them and begin discussing what that might look like. So where we're basically at the point where I say, hey, Deborah, it was so nice to meet you at the Chamber of Commerce. And I know that you mentioned to me that you were having headaches, and I'm super excited to hear more about what's going on with your headaches, what you've tried, and really understand how it's impacting your life. So what I just did there, I'm going to take an aside. What I just did there was I set the tone. I began to frame the call. I reconnected Deborah back to the moment that we first met so that she has a point of reference for why we're talking, what we're going to do. And we've connected. We've started to build a little bit of rapport. She's probably like, oh, great to see you at the Chamber of Commerce as well. So I'm going to connect. Bullet point number 1, connect with the person, build some rapport, give them a point of reference. And then my next phase is to frame the call. And by framing the call more fully, what I mean by that is I may say something to Deborah like, I know we've got just 30 minutes available. I know we booked 30 minutes. And so, my intention for this call is that we begin to uncover why these headaches keep coming back. And then, of course, if it makes sense and I think I can help you, we can talk about that as well. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Why do you think that's so important to do that right up front, Jen?
Gosh, it is. I think out of all the things that we'll teach today, I feel like it's the most important thing because what often happens, especially if you're a little bit nervous in a sales call, what often happens is that we become stuck in this place that I like to call the friend zone, where we just chat and we chat. Oh, tell me more. And it's this meandering call that doesn't have a particular direction. And at the end, let's say it's 27 minutes in, the professional, the guru, the person here to help will often find themselves saying something like, oh, well, thank you so much for sharing this with me. Let's book another call, or I'll send you some information, or like nothing happens. And when nothing happens, no transformation is gained. The person isn't helped at all.
Well, that was completely useless.
So by framing, so that's number one, keeps you out of this meandering meh call. Number two, when you say to the person, Deborah, I really want to hear about how these headaches are impacting your life. I want to hear what you've tried. Let's look to uncover some of the blocks, like the triggers that are keeping them coming back. Listen to this part. And then if I think I can help you, I'm happy to share with you what that looks like. Now the person has some idea up front that you do this for a living. They're not surprised at the end when you invite them to work with you. Versus, I'm just your friend and I'll tell you what vitamins you should take, or we'll talk about your headaches, for eternity in our friendship. Now you're setting the stage that this is a call where there may be an offer at the end, if in fact they're a good fit. So it keeps you out of that weird, awkward place of like springing an offer on them. Like, oh, guess what? I do it for a living. And they're like, oh, I thought you were just a nice person that wanted to talk to me about my feelings. It ends that altogether. One last thing. And as a matter of fact, the really cool part about framing a call this way is that at the end, if you don't tell them, yes, I think I can help you, and here's what it looks like, they'll actually be confused. They'll be like, wait, you told me you were going to tell me if you could help me and what that looks like. So now it's totally reversed the role. You're not doing something to them. You're actually delivering on what they're expecting already, which totally changes the tone of the end of the call.
Yep, I love that. And it also sets you up as a professional. This isn't just some fly-by-night conversation. So it gets you out of the weeds of meandering around. It lets them know there could be an offer coming at the end by saying, if I feel I can help you, I'd be happy to share that with you. And three, it sets you up as a professional. 3 good reasons to create that in the beginning. Okay, so we're off and running. What's next?
All right. So what's next is tell me about your headaches. So Deborah, I know we've got just 30 minutes for this call. So if you could take 60, 90 seconds or so and tell me what's going on with your headaches. That's it. So the problem. So number one, ask them about the problem. What's going on with your headaches? As some of you know, practiced as a doctor for 16 years. And you can imagine if you walked into the doctor's office and they didn't thoroughly understand your problem, it wouldn't make any sense if they walked in and just said, hi, Deborah, how's it going? Here's some medication. Bye.
Take 2 and call me in the morning.
You're like, wait, but you didn't even ask me what's happening. And a lot of times as an entrepreneur, we skip right to our solution. Here's this amazing thing I've got. And the person's thinking, you don't even know what I need yet. So the next step after you frame the call is to dive deep and ask about their problem. Okay. And I also, you may notice I put a framework, a time frame around that. Take a minute or so. Tell me about your headaches. What's going on? So important, because if you don't tell someone how long you want them to share, they might share for 25 minutes. And now you're in an awkward spot.
And then there was the time we went to my aunt's wedding where I had to sit in the back because.
Right. That one time and I fell and I was over and I scraped my knee. Right. Yeah. And it's not even your fault. They're not trying to make you crazy and they're not trying to be. They just don't know.
So is your next step going to be empathy or because otherwise I'll add it?
Yeah, you can add it.
All right.
You're better at that.
No, you're just as good at that.
Thank you.
One important thing is as they're talking, definitely be interested, show empathy. You could even say things like, wow, that must really cause a lot of anxiety or struggle or stress in your life as they describe the situation. Can you tell me more about what that's costing you?
Mm,
Now, this is critical because when you get to the offer later, you can do it in the context of the specific thing they said that it's costing them.
mm,
Okay. So, and it shows that you are genuinely listening to them and are genuinely concerned. Well, basically, I can't fly because my migraines get worse when I fly. And it's really, we can't go on vacation. I can't go visit the grandkids. It's costing me a lot. Wow. You empathize. I can see that that would be a great cost to you. Empathy, right? And not in an insincere way. The most important thing here is to be so sincere when you're interacting with these people. Wow, that can't even imagine. It must be horrible to not to be able to see your grandkids as often as you'd like.
mhm.
All right, Jen, keep going. We'll tie that in at the end again.
Nice. Love that. Thank you for that. So once you've asked them 60, 90 seconds, tell me about your headaches. What's going on? You've empathized with them. I may ask them also, it's kind of an extension of empathy. I may ask them, like, what would your life be like if you didn't have these headaches? Or what would you like to be doing in your life? So you're understanding the current problem, but you're also attaching them to this hopeful future, right? That they wish their life could be like. And they may go on and say, oh, well, I'd go every 2 months and go visit my grandkids. Or so now they're starting to feel excited about this possibility of what's possible for them. Now, here's the interesting part. If you're looking at a timeline right now, I might at this point maybe be 10 minutes in. I'm probably not even that far in yet. Let's just say 10 minutes. And we've already built rapport. We've framed the call. We've asked about their problem. We've empathized. And now we're already future visioning, like, what would your life be like if you got these headaches solved, or when you get these headaches solved? So once I've understood what the problem is now, I've understood what their desire is for the future, then I will, if I think I can help them, and I'm acknowledging along the way, like, thank you for sharing that with me and empathizing. Let's say I've got a good understanding of the problem and what they wish was happening. I will then, if I think they're a good fit, I will say, I'll transition and say something like, thank you so much, Deborah, for sharing this with me. I'll reiterate back. I understand you can't visit your grandkids. I understand that you're unable to go to work some days because of your headaches. You also shared with me that you'd love to visit them, your grandchildren, every 2 months. You'd love to be able to work and not worry about getting a migraine and be able to fly, etc. So I'm reiterating, and I'll say, based on what you shared with me, like, thank you for sharing it. Based on what you shared with me, the good news is that I think you're in exactly the right place. And I do believe that I can help you. I'd love to share with you more about what that looks like. Sound good? And I will transition into telling them about how I can help them and making, as a doctor, what I call recommendation for care. Like, here's what I recommend. And it obviously doesn't have to be a health problem. It could be a work problem, could be money problem, etc. But I will transition into telling them, sharing what I do. Coach Deb, anything else that you do in that spot?
There's so many things we could meander around this,
Mhm.
to use a doctor analogy. So being able to empathize and really lean in and listen, have them share, what it's costing them, and then also visioning what it would be like if they got rid of their headaches. It made me think of having a bedside manner, a good bedside manner as a doctor. Like, you always read in the reviews, oh, I had a horrible bedside manner or wonderful bedside manner. So we could translate that over to, so what's your bedside manner when you're talking to someone?
Your bedside manner blows.
Everyone wants the doctor who takes a little extra time, who seems genuinely concerned in our well-being. So same thing, have good bedside manner, to use this analogy to take it over, and translate that to how you talk to them. Be genuinely concerned, be real. Okay, that was the one thing. The other thing was, what was the last one you just gave? Was the visioning, right?
Yeah, the visioning. Yeah,
Yeah.
before the recommendation for care, like, what's the vision? What do you wish was happening? And then, yes, I think I can help you.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So, Another segue into, yes, I think I can help you. Like Jen, you said, you're in the exact right place. I think I can help you. Another way to say this, and if it applies to you, is, you know what, I helped someone with your very similar condition to yours last year. She came to me with X, and we worked together for a few months, and her life radically changed. So you can share how you helped someone prior with a similar situation. It normalizes their challenge that they're facing. They're not the only one with this condition. And two, it immediately sets you up as the expert, as someone who can help them move past this. Okay. So there's so many segues you could use as you're now going to go into presenting the offer. Okay. So Jen, let's say you go ahead and share your advice on a good segue.
Right, absolutely. So I will say sounds good is one of my main transitions. I'm curious is one of my favorites, but we're not at that point right now. So sounds good. So I will say thank you. Based on what you shared with me, you're in exactly the right place. I've helped this X number of people to get rid of their headaches. Let's take a pause for a minute and imagine you haven't helped someone with this particular problem in this format, right? Because there's some people I know that'll listen to this that are newbies and they're thinking, I don't have like hundreds of people that I've helped solve this problem yet. But you have some level of expertise, most likely, or you wouldn't be solving the problem, even if that's your own personal experience, even if it's something you're passionate about. So if you don't have a line of testimonials of people that you've worked with, instead of saying, I helped this woman get rid of her headaches and changed her life forever, you can say, I am so passionate about helping people just like you. And that's a perfectly good way to say it. Like it's completely reasonable and it's true. So you could say, you know what? Thank you, Deborah, for sharing with me. It sounds like it's been a big challenge for you. Based on what you shared, the good news is I think you're in exactly the right place. I am so passionate about helping people live their fullest lives free from headaches. And I'd love to share with you how I can help you do that too. Does that sound good? And they'll say, yes, that sounds good. Now you have an opportunity to share the details of whether it's a program, an online course, a coaching program, whatever it is that you do, a service, you can share the details. You can say, great, well, here's how it would work. And then you simply share the details. So I'll make something up right now. I'm going to be a chiropractor in this stage because that's what the framework is that we're in. So thank you, Deborah. What I would recommend to you based on what you shared with me is that we begin a 4-week, we'll plan a 4-week course of care. I will see you twice a week. And here's what you can expect. So I'll tell them the features and then I'll tell them the benefits. So we'll see you for 4 weeks, twice a week. And here's what you can expect. So I'll begin to anchor those benefits. You may notice initially your headaches get a little bit worse for a week or so. That's normal. Things are changing. You may also in your second week begin to notice that you're sleeping better. Your headaches are less severe. They're less frequent. Now I'm planting positive seeds for this positive anticipation and this future vision. And I also will begin to anchor in what they wanted for their future vision. Like our intention is that we get you to the point where you can fly and visit your grandkids every other month if you want to. Like that's our intention. We're going to keep a very close eye on your progress. So basically, I'm sharing features, benefits, and the logistics of how they get the transformation. Yep. And so we'll talk to that. Coach Deborah, anything else?
Yeah. Well, I think you mentioned features and benefits, and really, I think the most important part of that are the benefits, and keep revisiting the outcomes you can create for them. So I know that you don't like missing work. You mentioned that earlier. So we want to get you to a place where you don't miss any more work. And when you're at work, you feel productive and you have a lot of energy. You're not waylaid by a migraine creeping up again. We want to get you visiting your grandkids again. You keep reiterating the benefits that they said that they wanted. And this is where the tie back comes when you ask them about their future, imagine if, or when they talked about their problems and you ask them to tell you more and to explain it a little more deeply. Now here's where you bring it back into the context of how we can help you. So yes, you tell them how you work and what's in it for them. Like what they can expect is great and what they'll be able to do as a result. And maybe you're not in the health care industry, but you might be in some other, most of us provide some kind of transformation. What does the transformation look like and how will it benefit them? Okay, based on what they've told you. That's what's important here. Okay, great. So keep going.
Awesome. All right. And that's what Coach Deborah said. I hope that you heard that. I want to highlight it. Just speaking to them about the benefits and preferably in the language they've already shared with you. It's so important. And it's easy as a beginning entrepreneur or an entrepreneur that's still getting comfortable with enrollment conversations or sales calls to want to jump right into like, well, I do this type of, technique and I have these feet, just like to talk all about our stuff. It's almost like there's this energetic dam that's built up and we're like, oh, now's the part where I finally tell them things. That's no, no,
Yeah,
thank you.
the value is not in how you do it. It's the transformation you create. Write that down. Have you ever seen a car commercial that started with, let's open the hood. I want you to notice these wires. They're double coated. And I want you to look over here. Our battery connections are rock solid. You'll never have a dead battery in this car.
Steel belted radial tires.
And no, see the windshield wiper thing? The fluids? We made extra large tanks so you don't. No, you've never seen a car commercial like that. What do you see? You see a guy in midlife in a convertible with the top down, with the girl next to him with the hair flying. Because what are they doing? They're showing you an image of your future. You don't care about the wires under the hood.
Let's see what's under the hood. See what's under here.
So when you're on your discovery calls, don't talk about the wires under the hood.
Don't say it. Don't you dare say it.
Talk about the future they could have. You get it? Like start watching commercials on TV. These companies pay tens of millions of dollars to top ad agencies on Madison Avenue to tell them how to sell their products. They sell an image of the future, a feeling of the future, right? Look at any drug ad. You don't have them start the commercial with, let's take this capsule apart and see what's inside. No, they never do that. They never even show you the jar of cream or the injector, whatever. What do? They show you people at the picnic hiding, scratching behind. Oh, I can't participate. I'm all scratching. And then they cut to the picture of you're at the Barbie. Everyone's flipping burgers and everyone's having a good time. Your skin's magically cleared up. Yes, they're showing the future. They've painted a picture. Why? Those pictures are powerful. Powerful. Okay. So when we're on the phone or on a Zoom, we got to paint the picture for them, right? We don't have the luxury. Wouldn't it be nice if we could just instantly an actual picture for them? But we don't have the luxury of that. So we have to viscerally create it for them. Imagine you're at you're at your niece's wedding. You've flown without any headaches. You make it through the whole day, not just the wedding, but the reception and the after party. And you can't believe that you've gone 12 hours with no headaches. Okay. So you have to paint the picture.
So good.
All right. I got really excited about that because I think that's so important.
It's
And
so
it's funny if you start watching commercials on TV to realize they don't lead with features,
Yeah, they barely even talk about features, actually. I mean, if you're thinking drug commercial underneath, they just say you're going to be like horribly ill. Like if you take this,
like all the side effects.
to get like, you're gonna have like I don't know, flu-like symptoms, and you may
cause death.
Exactly, it may cause death. But look at how happy they are at the barbecue.
Exactly, you'll be happy when you die. So
right, and you know what? And here's the thing: as consumers, we're like, okay, but I'm just gonna take it, see what happens.
What could go wrong?
Okay, let's get to the where the rubber meets the road here now. So you laid it all out. You said we'll meet, for let's do you said a 4-month course or 4-week course. What did you say?
I said 4 weeks.
Okay, meet twice a week. Great. All right. That sounds really good. Should I just role play with you? That sounds really good. What's this going to cost me?
All right, fantastic. So let's talk about the investment, Deborah. For the 4-week program to get you to where you can fly, I'd go into the the benefits again, to get you to the point where you can fly and visit your kids, you can work, you can have no headaches, all this amazing list of benefits that you want. The investment for the 4 weeks is just $29.97. And we can do Visa or MasterCard. Sometimes I switch right to that. It depends on the conversation. Usually there's more filler in there. But if the person's like, okay, I'll say, great, we can do Visa or MasterCard. What works better? And sometimes that's how short that segment goes for me. Other times objections or questions may come up, but.
Ooh, I don't know, Jen, that sounds kind of expensive.
That sounds expensive.
Right. So if we're gonna go into objections, we should do a whole other show on that.
But we
Uh,
will. Let's just do one for fun.
Okay, great. Okay, so fantastic. Yes, Deborah, I heard you say that. I heard you say that it sounds a little bit expensive. Thanks for sharing that with me. I'm curious, and I may ask a curious question, like tell me more about how big of an impact this is having on you spending time with your family. So I may go back to their pain point if they say it's expensive. That's one way to handle a money objection. Let's say the ticket was like a much higher ticket, or I really think that it startled them, the dollar amount. Another way that I do it, and this may seem silly, but I literally will pause and I will say, yeah, you're right. It's a significant investment. And then I just zip it. And all of a sudden the other person will be like, well, but I can go visit they start talking themselves into the benefits as well. That's another way to handle the financial objection. A third way to handle a financial objection is if I have an installment plan or a payment plan, I may say, thank you for sharing with me. I heard you say that it's a significant investment for you. So in addition to a single pay, we do have an installment option, which is X number of payments over X number of weeks or months. I will share that with them. And oftentimes then they just choose one. I'll say which works better for you in order to get you this result, all going back to the benefit. Which of these works better for you so that we can get you to this future vision that you want? We can get you back on a plane. We can get you to your family. Which of these options works better for you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's or close.
Mhm.
And also, I'll give one of my famous closes, and we got to wrap up.
Okay.
One of the closes that I like to do, probably it's my number one close, and this would work well on migraines. I say, okay, I realize, yes, it could be seen as pricey, but when you consider what migraines have already been costing you, if you were to put a monetary value on that, I think you'd probably come up with a pretty big number. So what I want to put before you, Joan, whatever her name is, said you can keep doing what you're doing, trying to go from here and there and spending hundreds here, hundreds there with really no relief, and get the results you've been getting. Or you could take a whole new approach, which I am confident will resolve your issue in only a few weeks or months. The choice is yours. Go left and keep doing what you're doing, or take a right turn and try something that could totally change your life.
Nice. I love when you do that close, actually. Every time you do it, I'm like, yes, go right.
You take the red pill.
One last close really fast that I like is the cost of doing nothing. Remember that one too, right? Like, hey, you know what? You have the option to continue on the way that you've continued on and do nothing. And it's similar to what you just shared, just a little variance of like, you always have the right to do nothing and just continue on the way you've continued and keep getting the same results.
Yep.
And then I'm silent. I mean, I think in a enrollment conversation, getting very familiar with what your offer is so that you're comfortable sharing it, being comfortable and confident, it will allow you to just zip it.
Zip it good.
Zip it to where you can state the offer, you can state the problem or the challenge to them, like, hey, you could do nothing, or you could keep going left and see what happens. And then you could just sit with it. And sometimes people aren't they're not necessarily feeling pressured. They're not freaking out. Like it's common as an entrepreneur to make up a story about what the person's thinking or doing when they're quiet. A lot of times people just need a second to process and to make a decision. So being comfortable with the silence is so important, not just for making the sale, but for really just honoring that person in the process. Sometimes they don't want to think about it for that moment, right?
Yeah. Don't feel like you need to fill the space. Let them have their moment. I wanted to just acknowledge Ashley's comment in the chat that people want to tell her their whole life story all the time.
Let me start at the beginning.
So Jen, I'm going to tell you my whole situation with migraines and weddings, and you demonstrate how you would interrupt me if this is a full call. So, I was at my nephew's wedding last year, and I wanted to go to the whole thing, and I was sitting in the church and I could feel a migraine coming on. So I actually had to get up and leave because, but look, he's one of my favorite nephews.
It all started when I was 7.
And I pause you for just a second. I just want to ask you a quick question.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you for that. Yeah. So I'm curious. I don't want to skip over this. It feels like you just shared some important information with me. You said you had to get up and leave, or that's something that happens to you. It sounds like that's really a big problem in your life. Sounds
Yeah.
like I can imagine that might have even been a little bit embarrassing, or you felt bad that you missed out on whatever was happening. Yeah.
Mhm.
Wow. Okay. Well, thank you for that. Yeah. It sounds like these headaches are really a big deal in your life. I'm curious, if we got rid of these headaches, what would your life look like without them? So I've already redirected you to a next segment.
Yeah.
That's how I would do it. I would jump in and pause.
Yep.
Uh,
And you
it-
can see, I'm sure there's a lot of interesting details there, but I think that the meat of the matter is, and then say what you said,
yeah.
because we only have a short amount of time together. So rather than focusing on all those details, I'd really like to focus on what transformation is possible for you. All right. Yeah, we love that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
So I just wanted to give Ashley an example because she
Yeah.
put that in the chat. So
I'm going to give her one, I'd like to do one last thing for Ashley and anyone else listening. Also, when I talk about framing the enrollment conversation at the beginning, like, oh, I know we've got 30 minutes, etc., you can add a segment in there. Deborah, so good to see you. I know we met at the chamber. The intention of this call is to learn about your headaches. I know we've got 30 minutes. So because of that, you can imagine there may be information, like there'll be moments when you're sharing and I have a question, or I might have a comment and I maybe need a little more clarity. So I'd like to ask you in advance, if that happens, if I have something to share or I need more clarity, do I have permission to pause you? Because I might ask to just pause you for a minute. Would that be okay? So now Deborah will say yes. And now you literally have permission. You're not going to startle her. If you're like, hey, Deborah, can I pause you for a minute? She'll say, oh, of course, she must have a question or something she wants to share. So if you want it, take it, run with that. Because if you
Yeah.
let them in advance, they'll say, sure. And then
Yeah.
you're golden.
yeah.
Yeah.
Another analogous way, at Six Flags or any amusement park, they tell you to put your phone in the pocket, the pocket in front of you, because they know it's going to happen. So once you're apprised, you put the phone in the pocket. Maybe a bad analogy, but anyway. All right, so that'll do it for today. I think you're right, Jen. We need to do another whole show on handling objections and do a bunch of role playing. That would be really fun.
I object.
So we'll announce that ahead of time so people can come and bring the objections that they've heard people say to them. I don't have time. I don't have money. I got to talk to my spouse. I got to blah, blah, blah.
The dog ate my chair.
All right. So we'll do that in another call because that's really good, really helpful. All right. So thank you, everyone, for joining us on this call, Anatomy of a Sales Call, the steps that you need to put into place in order to be effective. I'm Coach Deb.
And I'm Coach Jen.
We'll see you next time. Thanks so much. Bye for now.